Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Cardano and its native token ADA. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to go check out the ITC2 stake pool if you would like to earn interest on your ADA. If you're unfamiliar with how to earn interest on your ADA, go to staking.intothecryptoverse.com. I'll put a link to that in the description below. You just come down here, you click on Cardano, and there is a video on how to earn interest on your ADA. Let's go ahead and jump in. What is going on with, as we've called it, right? As we've called it, the racehorse of the market cycle. What has been going on the last few weeks? So let's actually switch this over to a chart that has a little bit more history. And what you'll notice is we've come back up to the same area that we were at back in May. Okay, so we had our lull in the market. We've moved back up. Now, what is the prior all-time high for ADA? Well, it's around 250. Okay, I mean it's approximately 250, maybe a little bit above it. It depends on what exchange you use, to be completely honest. But it's around 250 or so. So this, will be a pretty important level in the event that we can break it, because at that point, ADA goes into price discovery, right? And ADA hasn't been in price discovery in a few months. It hasn't been in price discovery since May. So getting back above those levels would be kind of interesting to see where is the next accumulation zone. So one of the reasons I really like ADA is, it's a hedge against Ethereum. I think having some hedges is a great thing. It's a hedge against Ethereum, and it also has shown nothing but strength this bull market. I mean, it has outperformed so many different other cryptocurrencies. Not only is it making a move back to its all-time high, this move here, a lot of coins did not experience this final move that ADA did, where it went from its accumulation range up to a new all-time high, and then when Bitcoin kicked the bucket, ADA just went back down to the accumulation range it was in. It didn't actually go all the way back down to, it never went back down to these levels down here. Okay, it never went down to these levels, and there's a lot of people calling for a 30 or 40 cent ADA. It never went down to those levels, and it continues to show the utmost strength, I would say, for a lot of the altcoins. I mean, look at this. What more could you really ask for, I feel like, with an altcoin that is showing this amount of strength? And the reason I say that is not to say that it has to put a new all-time high now, because it doesn't. If Bitcoin goes back down, we know ADA will go down with it. The point is to say, if Bitcoin does go back down and ADA gets dragged along with it, well, then it's just probably going back to where it came from. And we'll continue sort of playing in the sandbox for a little bit in the event of that happening. So again, I say, ADA, in my opinion, is a great hedge against Ethereum, and you see that really reflected in the price action over the last 7 or 8 months. Now, no one, of course, is getting out of bed for a 222 ADA. We've been to 250 before. Obviously, we would like to see ADA get rocketed up to $3, $4, $5. I think the market cycle peak for ADA is. It's hard to say, right? It's really hard to say. My guess is $10 plus or minus a few dollars. But I think, I ultimately do stick to the risk levels. Again, that's part of the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below. We have a sale going on. Check it out, lock and low rate. But I ultimately will use those risk levels to gauge at what point I think we are too overheated. But the great thing about what's going on right now is that, to me, this again just looks like a springboard to what will ultimately be a move to a new all-time high. Okay, it reminds me of Ethereum back in the last cycle, right? If you go back to, say, the last cycle for Ethereum, there were definitely times when Ethereum was just going sideways for a while, and then it ultimately was a springboard to a new level, right? We saw it a couple times, in fact. And right now, when we look at ADA, I mean, to me, again, maybe I'm biased because I own it, but to me, it looks like ultimately that this will be the range that will springboard us to the next level, right? I think that it will be, and the range that I'm talking about is this one. So the $1 to 250 range, this allows us for those, those 60% drops. Even in a bull market, we know that 60% drops are fully possible in a bull market. Again, we saw the same thing with Ethereum last cycle. We saw 60, 70% drops during this range, more than one of them. So we know that's possible, and we don't get worked up over 60% drops, right? It's par for the course. You're going to expect those kinds of moves in the market. And if 60% drops for an altcoin scare you, then you're not in the right market, my friend, right? You're not in the right market if a 60% drop is going to scare you. In fact, ultimately speaking, 60% drops I feel like are actually pretty nice, because they give you the opportunity, if you didn't have a position already, they give you the opportunity to establish a position in a cryptocurrency that you might want to establish a position in. So the only question in my mind now that I really have is not whether this is the sort of the reloading zone. It's more just a framing of when will we break out of the reloading zone, okay? And is that going to come now, or are we going to get kicked the can down the road for a little bit longer and then do it later? I don't really care, to be completely honest. Like, I have my ADA stack, and I've been riding it forever at this point, since 2018, late 2018, 2019, 2020, early 2021. And I'm really happy to just let that ride. So I don't personally care if it breaks out now or if it breaks out later. And, as long as you're earning interest on it, you don't really care. I mean, the price is just noise, right? Just earn interest on it and forget about what the price is doing, and then check back in every once in a while. What's more interesting right now to me is not the ADA USD valuation. In fact, it's the ADA Bitcoin valuation. Why? Because we're approaching a new local high there, which is pretty important, right? That's pretty important. The speculation is that when Bitcoin goes down, when Bitcoin's below the 20-week moving average, you expect altcoins to bleed against Bitcoin. And that's what you saw happen. I mean, again, don't take my word for it. Let's go look at a chart and let's put it to the test. Like, does that work? When Bitcoin's below the 20-week, does it make sense that alts bleed against Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin dropped below the 20-week on May 10th, the week of May 10th, and it opened the week of May 17th below the 20-week for the first time in a long time. So what happened May 10th through May 17th? Okay, let's go look at ADA Bitcoin May 10th through May 17th. May 10th, it made the high, and then May 17th. This is when it started coming down. So over the entire summer, when Bitcoin was below the 20-week moving average, the ADA valuation against Bitcoin was dropping. But Bitcoin was below the 20-week. But what's the thesis, right? What's the thesis? Well, the thesis is that if Bitcoin's above the 20-week and going sideways, altcoins are going to shine. And what better altcoin to shine than our racehorse for the market cycle, ADA? What happened? What in the world did this green candle get triggered by? Well, maybe it was a speculation about smart contracts launching, and that's certainly a possibility. What's something else? August 9th. Clearly something happened August 9th. What do you guys think happened August 9th? What happened the week of August 9th? Well, you go take a look. August 9th, the first week that Bitcoin opened above the 20-week moving average, that, my friends, is when ADA made the move. Okay? So what is the moral of this story? The moral is that maybe not the moral, but you know what I mean, the lesson. The lesson is when Bitcoin is above the 20-week and just chopping sideways, which is exactly what's doing. That's exactly what it's doing right now. You expect altcoins to rally. Well, you expect strong altcoins to rally. What happens when Bitcoin goes below the 20-week and bleeds? Altcoins bleed against Bitcoin. Okay. So again, if you wanna sort of play the games, you can always buy Bitcoin when it's below the 20-week. And then if Bitcoin gets above the 20-week, then you could convert some of your Bitcoin to altcoins. If you had done that here, you would have worked out really well. Now, of course, you have to deal with tax implications, and I'm not going to deal with that for you, so you got to deal with that yourself. But I'm just saying, if you lived in a country where you don't have tax implications, if you're just buying Bitcoin, when Bitcoin's below the 20-week, and then you wait, and then the minute Bitcoin gets above it, you convert it back to ADA or back to an altcoin, it tends to work out. Again, tax implications, you got to figure out if it works for you. But for people that don't have those tax implications, which I do have the tax implications, so it's harder for me to take advantage of that, but some people don't. It's something to consider. Bitcoin's above the 20-week, and then ADA starts moving. What else could we look at? Well, I mean, you know, this is not, a lot of people think that this is the all-time high, but it's not, right? This is not the all-time high for ADA Bitcoin, even if it makes it to, you know, 5,000 Satoshis or something. Why is it not? Well, my friends, you go back further. You go all the way back to 2018, and we made it to around 87, 80 Satoshis. So almost 9,000 sats ADA made it to against Bitcoin. What would that represent from the current prices? It would represent a move that would take us up 80%. For a constant Bitcoin, what would that mean for ADA? For a constant Bitcoin, an 80% move against the US dollar would put ADA at a very modest $4. Now, we're probably not getting out of bed for a $4 ADA, but it is a stepping stone to a $5 ADA, to a stepping stone to a $6 ADA, to an $8 ADA, to hopefully a $10 ADA at some point during this market cycle. Honestly, you know, I told you guys my price prediction for ADA for the market cycle in the past was $5 to $10. Keep in mind that when I first put out that price prediction, ADA was trading at around 3 to 4 cents. Okay, I just went back and looked. If you go to the playlist for Cardano, my very first video, actually I drew ADA, and if you go back and look at that video, I drew it up going all the way up to $20. I was a little bit more optimistic back then. And then I sort of toned it down and said, all right, well, maybe $5 to $10. But, you know, if we think about the current market conditions, right, let's think about this for a minute. ADA is currently trading at 221, right? It's outperforming a lot of different cryptocurrencies. Most of it is staked, right? Most of it. If you're not staking it, go stake it. If you don't want to stake it with me because you have an issue with me, go stake it with someone else. So most of it's staked. It's trading for 222. Bitcoin's above the 20 week. What happens if Bitcoin falls below the 20 week? Well, ADA Bitcoin bleeds, right? ADA will bleed against Bitcoin. But in the long run, if Bitcoin trends to 100K, which there's tons of evidence to suggest that Bitcoin can make it to the 6-figure mark this cycle, probably between, my guess, 1 to 200K. If it makes it there, that's a 3 to 4x. So let's suppose that Bitcoin has a 3 to 4x left in it. If Bitcoin has a 3 to 4x left in it, and we expect our altcoins to outperform Bitcoin during key phases of the cycle, because, right, if you don't expect them to outperform Bitcoin, then why the hell do you hold it, right? Because Bitcoin's a safer play, and if Bitcoin's a safer play, you just go with Bitcoin, right? But if Bitcoin can maybe put in a 3 to 4x from here, well, a 3x from here for ADA is about $6 or $7, right? $6.60 from the current prices. But again, the price is really volatile right now. So let's just say the 3x is around $6 because it was at around $2, so 3x is $6. A 4x would be $8, okay? So a 5x, we're looking at around $10. And I say, well, you know, maybe, and as I said before, I think $10 is a realistic target. Now, the only other question I think is it, you know, we say $10 plus or minus a few dollars, right? What's a few dollars among friends? I don't know, right? I don't know. I mean, it seems like if I had to guess, like, is it more likely to undershoot it or overshoot the $10 mark? I might even be inclined to say it's going to overshoot it at this point in the event that Bitcoin goes to 100K. Now, this is a huge if-then statement, right? It's if Bitcoin goes to 100K, then there's a high probability that ADA will smash through some of these lower levels. Now, do I think it's going to go to some of these other crazy milestones this cycle of like $50? No, not a chance in hell. I don't think ADA is going to make it to $50 this market cycle. But could it make it to $10? Could it make it to 12? Maybe 15? I don't know. I mean, if we go to those levels, it'll probably be a brief moment in time. And then probably we'll have a pretty big pullback after that, upwards of 60 to 80%, but maybe even more. But that's sort of what we're looking at right now. So I would say if it happens now, if we break out now and we start trending higher, great. If we kick the can down the road a few months because Bitcoin's got some more stuff to figure out, that's fine too. Who cares? We're putting out the platform now to hopefully propel us to new prices. And hopefully we see these new prices, relatively soon. I mean, if it happens in August, fine. September, October, November, December, going into 2022, whatever, right? We're not going to nickel and dime on the exact time frame. We want it to go up, but it's an investment. It's not meant to, I would say it's not meant to day trade. If you're over here day trading ADA, this is not the channel for you. But if you look at it like a long-term investment, then I think you're looking at it in the right manner. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to check out the premium list sale. You can find a link to that in the description below as well. And stake your ADA with the ITC stake pools. You can find a link to that down below too. Subscribe at the very least, give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye.